Hello, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your questions today, but also to just give you some updates. So go ahead, start putting your questions in the comments so that I can answer those questions. But at the same time, I want to continue to give you some updates about what's happening. Of course, we are dealing with the election results, and for every day up until January, we're probably going to be seeing the progress, Trump's progress on what he plans to do. And, he's holding steady on his goal to start mass deportation on day one. Um, Despite he said there's no price tag, which is completely unrealistic, and it's not necessarily the price tag that we're worried about. It's the consequence, not only to non-citizens, undocumented immigrants, but to the nation, to the economy, to other U.S. citizens, children. So the cost is high, but the consequences, there's no price tag. There's no expressing how much damage this mass deportation would cause. So one unsettling thing that I have been hearing as well is that they're working with the private sector. And of course, the private sector is set to make money, just like private prisons. They are working with the private sector to build detention centers in order to facilitate this mass deportation. But here's what I say. Even though he's saying he's going to deport 11 million undocumented immigrants, it's going to be the biggest deportation effort in history. What I would say here is the cost. It's the cost. Is the consequences are so severe that such a measure would be impossible. What I do suspect, though, is that they are going to increase their effort. So we are going to see, because right now in this administration, they have specific priorities to target criminals. And Trump has said they're only targeting criminals. But in his when he's talking about criminals, he's referring to all undocumented immigrants, unfortunately. But under this administration, the enforcement priorities are individuals who are a danger to national security and public safety. So it is the same. He's claiming the same, but of course he's targeting undocumented immigrants. So he's saying that he's aiming to deport criminals. I think so, because a large majority of many Americans believe that undocumented immigrants equal criminals. And so this is why we need to educate them about who the immigrants are, who are the undocumented immigrants. A vast majority of undocumented immigrants are law-abiding, constructive members of our community. They're our neighbors, they're our church brothers and sisters, they're our employees, they're our brothers, they're our sisters, they're our children, they're our mothers, they're our fathers. They are people who are paying into the economy, contributing in a great way. And as a matter of fact, I would say they are giving a huge sacrifice because they are not getting anything back. Get out of your head. I know I may be preaching to the choir, but whoever is here and you don't fully understand how significant of a role they play in our community, I want you to understand that they are not benefiting from public. They're paying into the public benefit system. They're paying into Social Security. They're paying into Medicare. They're not getting any of that. They're working. They go and get ITINs, or if they have a Social Security number, they go and pay taxes. They're paying over $96 billion in taxes. And these are undocumented immigrants that I'm talking about. Only undocumented immigrants that are paying these taxes. We're not talking about immigrants who have their papers. These are people that are giving, they're sacrificing, and they're not benefiting. They're not getting the benefits back. And here we are, as a matter of fact, here we are looking at January, and they, I know, are having sleepless nights. They're having tough conversations with their families. They're possibly trying to come up with a plan B, right? So, and this is totally unjust. But the fact is here, the fact is that the people that are going to suffer are not only the people that are going to be removed, it's going to be us, the people, the US citizens, the nationals, the residents, the employers, the businesses. And they are going to see this, right? Unfortunately, we're going to have to suffer, all of us, before they start to see this. Now, there is a town, I believe it's called Hazelton, and it's in the same mass deportation report that I was talking about yesterday. And they try to do this on a smaller scale. It's a small town, it's a smaller town, and they created laws prohibiting landlords from renting, employers from hiring undocumented immigrants, to the point where undocumented immigrants had to leave because the laws were so restrictive. Do you know what happened to that town? There was economic collapse. They, in the end, they had to allow immigrants to come back because they for the agricultural sector was very big there, and it was collapsing. So eventually, after they faced severe consequences, they had to let immigrants come back to work, to contribute. So unfortunately, a lot of Americans are ignorant about the contributions of undocumented immigrants. The fact that they are basically a part of the fabric of the United States. They are a part of the US. And so they deserve a legal path. They have earned it. They have already earned it. A vast majority of undocumented immigrants have already earned this path and deserve it. So, that's what is going to happen. We're going to suffer, right? But what I would say here is, I think he may, but it's not going to happen. The consequences are too severe. And of course, they have their own economists that are projecting these numbers. I'm sure they're aware of it. So we have to see as the time goes by what the approach is going to be. But what I do suspect will happen is we are going to see, we're going to see, raids happening. We're going to see, but it's still going to be on a smaller scale. It's not going to be millions of people, but I think what we're going to see is we're going to see this, and it's scary, it's terrifying to see that. And of course, people that don't deserve to be detained will be detained. We're going to see a similar pattern to what we saw during the previous administration. Many people were detained who were law abiding, who didn't deserve that. They were detained for months, for years, in terrible conditions. We're probably going to see this again. And these are the types of conditions that, as immigration attorneys, we're going to have to try to fight for our clients to get justice for them, and to try to prevent this from happening. I'm gearing up. I'm waiting to see what to expect. But um, on the day before we got the election results, I called my client, picked up a green card for my client, and um, I got to give her the good news. And that was a gift to me because I have it on video. And my client told me how much of a blessing this was to her and how much she trusted me throughout the process. And then she came to the office and gave me these flowers, and I still have them here. So gave me with this saying, "Give thanks." Gave me these flowers, and every time I feel really downtrodden about what is happening, as I was saying, we're good people. My clients are good people. I know vast majority of immigrants are good people. Why? How is this happening? I look at those flowers. I've been looking at those flowers, and I've been thinking about my client's reaction and my other clients who have expressed this. But this happened on right before I learned the election result, and I am inspired, and I know that I've had tough cases, and this was a challenging case, and we got through it. So I know that it is just a matter of continuing the work because the laws are still there to provide options for my clients. It's going to next year, we're going to see changes, and I don't know those specific changes. We have a hunch based on what it was like back in the administration back then. We have a hunch on what's coming. But he also has Congress, right? So Senate and the House. So that means that we could be seeing laws changing. We could be seeing right now the laws that we use to get status for our clients are under VAWA, the Trafficking Victims Program, and then you have the U visa as well for victims of trafficking. These are all based on statutory law. And these are strong, long-standing laws that have been in place for over 20 years. And these are mostly for individuals, undocumented immigrants who are here who need the relief. It is life-changing. But we have to see what changes are going to be in place. But the good thing about this is we're going to be notified. He's not going to come and he's not going to change the law the next day. It has to go through a legislative process. And this is where I'm saying learn those options and get on it, because by seeking these options now, it means that you could be grandfathered in. And when I say grandfathered in, you apply now for something because you applied for it while that law was effective. It means that they're going to follow through and process your case and approve you under the old law, even if they change it in the future. So now take comfort in knowing that we have time. And we're going to see deadlines. We're going to see dates when things are going to be going to effect. When they're changing policies, we're going to see it. So it gives us notice, time to get this in, time to do this or that. Now, today I got a T visa approval. So that was even more inspiring. I got it late in the day, so I have to call my client about it because that very same client, emailed and said, "Hey, what's going on? I am really hoping I can get this." Well, I can tell my client he's going to get it. And now somebody said, "What is the T visa?" So the T visa is for victims of trafficking. But I know a lot of people are even miseducated about what trafficking is. We have this perception that trafficking is, being physically forced to do some acts, like typically sex acts, um, but or being physically forced to do labor. And I want you to understand that, and if you read even the T visa policy manual on the USCIS website, it's very clear that the definition of labor trafficking is broad, because people don't just force people to do things by force, by physical force, but there are things like manipulation, emotional abuse, and coercion, right? Imagine being an undocumented immigrant who's here. And if you're watching here, you're undocumented and you're in the labor market, I'm pretty sure you've gone through this. You're undocumented and you're working for somebody. You think you can't leave. You have no other options. The employer has probably told you that I'm not paying you much and you can't leave anyway, because where are you going to go? You don't have options. You don't have your papers. I'm not going to pay you what you deserve because you don't have your papers, right? And that's just scratching the surface. So you stay, right? You want to leave, you want to get freedom, but you stay because you are manipulated into thinking you have no rights. You don't have your papers. There are no other options. You've been told by the employer this multiple times. And sometimes the employer just says a simple thing, well, you don't have your papers, so I can pay you whatever I want. I can pay you as little as I want, and you don't get overtime. And then it gets worse, right? So if they are promised to and pay you a certain amount, and then when you start working, you find that they're shorting your pay on purpose. They're taking away your tips and then telling you, well, you're undocumented, you have to give this, um, give up some of that money. So these are just examples of how labor, that's called labor trafficking, and it's happening to many immigrants. So we're able to find these options for our clients. They are not educated about it, but as soon as we talk to them and hear their situations, we realize that our clients have been labor trafficked or even are in a current labor trafficking situation. And because of that, we're able to get the T visa for them. Now, the client that we got approved for today, that client was lured to the United States by an aunt. And when they came, they were told that they're going to find them a really nice job that pays a couple hundred dollars a week. And then when they got there, that was not the case. The aunt didn't find a job for my client, instead forced the client to work in her business and did not pay the client. So what this person would do is pretend to pay them and then say, oh, I'm going to just take the money though and save it for you. The whole time they're thinking the money is being saved for them, and they never gave them the money. So they labored away until they realized that they were in a bad situation. Not only labored away, but were mistreated, deprived of pay, mistreated, verbally abused. So my client is finally going to be able to, and this was years ago, and then my client found me. So you don't have to be currently in the situation. This could have happened years ago to you. And if you come to us, talk to us about it, then we can help you to get this. So how long does it take to get approval? So it takes 12 months to 18 months, but here's what the Biden administration has done, which I think is a gift. It is really a gift. It's almost like they foretold that this possibility, and they have put in place policies that went into effect on August 28th. So, of course, for uh, Trump's team to withdraw those policies, we have to go through another month. They have to go through months and months of notice, giving us notice and laying out the proposed policy before it goes into effect. So it gives us time. But here's what this does that Biden did. while the T visa is pending, they issue bona fide determination, which puts the person in protected status. It immediately stays any deportation. So once you get the bona fide determination, and the way that the bona fide determination works is if you submit a proper application with all the elements of the application, then you're going to get that bona fide determination. And it immediately stays any kind of removal proceedings or moves to deport you while your case is pending. And keep in mind, once you get approved for the T visa, then you can cancel any deportation processes that you're going through, or it voids any past deportation order. So the T visa is a solid option once you qualify for it. But this is where I need to talk to you to make sure I can that you can qualify, right? So that is the T visa. Okay. On YouTube, just tell me, I see somebody saying no volume, sound is off. Oh, okay, I see. It's okay now. Okay, so it's okay. All right, because that has happened. I've yapped on and then found out the volume was off. I'm living in Barbados. I'm watching your videos all the time. Thank you, Polly. And hello in Barbados. All right, so we're getting these approved for our clients, and on day one of Trump's administration, this will still be in effect. So I say, take this time to go for it and give us a call, schedule your time so that we can evaluate your options. Hi there, Alton. How long this client got to be approved? A year and 4 months. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just answer some questions. I see a number of questions. I'm going to start on TikTok and then work my way around. Yes, okay, so that is the other major news. Parole in place. I was just reading the decision of the judge. So it was denied. And the judge stated that the government had no authority to issue this parole in place. So yes, it has been denied and it's dead in the water. And the hope was that this would have provided a lot of protections to many undocumented immigrants, especially those who cross the border without permission, to get this parole in place, but it is not going to work. So it's not moving forward, unfortunately. And there's very little time to process these cases. So we have to look at the options that are available to us. Now, here, let me tell you the difference between the options like VAWA, T visa, U visa. These are supported by statute. Parole in place, as the court said, in their opinion, Biden administration did not have authority to issue a parole in place. I would beg to differ on that, because the president has authority to issue parole in place, but the judge in the order has said they don't have authority. But it's discretionary. The president has certain authority to issue what's called executive actions. And these are just policy changes that the president wants to implement, but it still has to be within the purview of the law. So it's different. Under VAWA, under the T, it is dictated by statute. So the president doesn't control it. The Congress, once it's passed, Congress has to go through a process to repeal it. Now, yes, Trump does have the House and the Senate. So if they are in agreement and they have the right numbers to repeal it, they could do that. But the legislative process is going to take some time. It's going to take months. It's going to go through debates. And this is very long-standing law that has been in place to help the most vulnerable people who are undocumented here, who are being exploited and taken advantage of. So I'm sure that there are going to be some people in the Senate and in the House that are going to know this is not going to be a good thing to repeal such a law, right? So it's very important to keep in mind that once again, it's not going to be very easy to just withdraw these laws. And while these laws are there, we need to move on it. If you qualify for it, it's time to seek relief under those laws. All right. Um, what if somebody's visa expired 3 years ago and they're trying to get married to get their papers? Now, keep in mind, you cannot get married for your papers. You know, if you're in a relationship, a serious relationship, and you've reached that point where you're like, I am ready to get married, let's get married, and the both of you get married, that's a bona fide because it's a relationship. But you cannot go and find somebody and say, hey, let's make an arrangement, let's get married. And, you can't do that, right? Some people like to call it a business marriage because it sounds better, but it's a fraudulent marriage, and there are very severe consequences. But that's what I help people to do. I help people to seek legal relief under the law that's not illegal, without the need to get married or involve relatives or have family sponsorship. So this is where it's very important to schedule your appointment and talk to us, and we'll go through an evaluation and see if you qualify for one of the legal options. Um, Can I get help applying for advanced parole, or is it too late? So if you have DACA now, then you can apply for advanced parole. Yes, you do have to have a good reason. You have to show. They're very specific with the advanced parole for DACA, but it is possible. Um, My father has been here 35 years but has a green card. Can he get deported? No. The mass deportation is targeting undocumented immigrants, not immigrants with their green card. Do you help for deportation people? So yes, I help. This is exactly what we do, and we help immigrants get protection from deportation. And if you're going through the proceedings, absolutely. Can I get help with applying for? So I answered that. I don't. I don't apply EAD and travel document regarding my I-360, but I have prima facie. It happened. So I'm sorry, this is a bit confusing. The prima facie doesn't give you any status, but it is definitely proof that you have a pending VAWA and you can use it to get certain benefits. So in the meantime, now if you are married to a U.S. citizen or you have a U.S. citizen parent and you're under 21, you can apply for adjustment of status, get the work permit, and the travel document. Now, DACA. So this is something that the Trump administration has not addressed about DACA recipients. But however, they have the support, bipartisan support, uh, from both sides of the aisle. And so they haven't said, given a solution. I know during Trump's administration, though, he tried to terminate DACA. So, can we depend on him to do the right thing and provide a path to citizenship, or at least continue to provide protections under DACA? We cannot depend on him, because he has tried to terminate it before, and it was litigation that stopped it from happening. With Trump being in office and having a pending I-485 application, should I be worried? So when I would say if you have a pending application, you're in a better position than someone who doesn't have anything at all. Because it means that if you're applying for it, you're showing the government that you qualify to be able to stay here and get your papers. So you're in a much better position. Now, what I did notice during the Trump administration with pending I-485s, and just across the board, processing times became longer. More RFEs were issued, very trivial RFEs, denials instead of issuing RFEs, which are requests for evidence, sometimes just a denial without giving the applicant a chance to correct any errors in the application. They would just issue a denial. Those are some of the things that we may start seeing again. We still get RFEs, but it is not as obstructive as the RFEs that were during the Trump administration. We're going to probably see interviews again, because during the Trump administration, everybody had to go to the interview. They never waived interviews. So we're going to probably see that happening again, where before they're going to make a decision, you have to go to an interview. Now with the T visa, the VAWA and the VAWA portion, and then the U visa, they usually did not have interviews even back then. But when you're going through, for example, marriage-based or parent-child, family-based immigration, the interview is going to be required. So give us a call. So you qualified. I see here you qualified but didn't hear anything. That should not be the case. That maybe the email did not go through. So please give us a call. Give us a call back and let them know, and they will be more than happy to pick up where we left off. I'd love to see every single immigrant, regardless to documentation status, do a work stop. I'm not sure. My husband is waiting for an interview to be scheduled back home. Waiver approved. Will we be able to? Yes, the laws are still the same. Now, going into next year, of course, we're going to know it's going to take some time. Even the changes are going to take some time. So, as long as they do not change the laws or policies or procedures related to this, you're still going to be able to do this. But just continue to monitor your risk. If your spouse leaves the country, make sure that your spouse doesn't have anything in their background that's going to increase their risk of denial. What benefit is there for an undocumented person getting an ITIN just to pay taxes? How can it help? Great question. So with the ITIN, while the ITIN does not directly give you authorization to work, the ITIN does give an undocumented immigrant who has no other legal options some semblance of a normal life. The ITIN allows an undocumented immigrant to provide, they can provide it to their employer, and the employer can then put it on a 1099 so you can pay your taxes. Um, you can use it to create a business. You can use it for loans. You can use it for bank to get a bank account. You can use it to get certain financial accounts. So it is the use of it is not just to file taxes and to pay taxes, but it also allows you to show other entities, business entities, an identifying number that they can use in their processes, like with a bank. And then some states will accept it too if you want to show get your driver's license. So it has, I would say that the ITIN, even though it does not give the benefit of working like the social security number, it provides options for people. Can you still apply for EB1? Everything is still, all the laws are still the same. I'm a citizen, but my partner is an immigrant that came here illegally. How can I marry him? So you can get married, but you can absolutely get married. And if you want, you can get married now, before, of course, next year. Just because it just depends on how, if you're going to the courts, we don't know we don't know what the climate is going to be like. So you want to get that out of the way now. They don't hold it against you to, the status. If you're going to get married, they don't hold that against you. I know Georgia does have laws where if they suspect you're undocumented, they can report it, though. So some states are now implementing these kinds of laws, but for the most part, it has not been an issue. But once you get married, what the problem will be is that they're going to hold that illegal entry against your spouse. And this is what a lot of people don't get. They think that if an undocumented immigrant enters the country at the border, that they're getting through, and that's unfair. But keep in mind that when they come into the country, it gets very hard. Just like in this situation, your partner you have found each other, and you're a US citizen, and your partner, but if your immigrant partner gets married to you, it's not going to allow your partner to be able to get adjustment of status. They have to go through a waiver process. So you can always give us a call, and we can talk to you about how we can help you. There's a waiver process, but it's not going to allow them to do adjustment of status. My father has been here for 35 years, but has green card. Can he get deported? He can only get deported if they pulled his green card for an offense, right? A deportable offense. So he's been here for 35 years. That's telling me it's very highly unlikely your father is going to get into that kind of trouble. So it helps you get credit card, health insurance, possibly buy a house. So these are other benefits as well. So exactly, these are examples of how an ITIN can help you to have some semblance of a life here without a social security number. I don't apply EAD and travel document, and we're actually the law firm here. We're going to be launching our ITIN service, by the way. So we're going to also we are going to announce it, and then you'll be able to click on the link and get started on applying for the ITIN as well. So that's something that's coming down very soon, and I'll make an announcement when that happens. But I'm working on it. I don't apply EAD and travel. Okay, so I answered that. Okay, so regarding immigration, it doesn't give you an immigration benefit. The ITIN doesn't give you an immigration benefit. But here's another thing to keep in mind, and I'm so glad you brought this up, Moya. The ITIN, when you get the ITIN and you're able to pay your taxes, you're really ahead of the game here. Because in a say it's it's wishful thinking, and um, who knows, maybe just as we were slapped in the face by this election, suppose this Congress decides that they are going to take on immigration and they're going to do massive overhaul of the immigration system, basically do reform. And after some debates, they decide that okay, they are going to go ahead and allow undocumented persons who can show that they have been here for a certain number of years, they have no criminal record, and that they've paid their taxes, they can get a path to citizenship. That's one thing I've noticed in every single piece of proposed legislation to be able to get your papers that's pending right now. I have seen that if you can show you've paid your taxes, or you've paid your taxes over a number of years, then you will be approved to get permanent residence and then citizenship. So if the immigrants who are doing this, who have gotten their ITIN and who are paying taxes, mind you, they're paying over $96 billion in taxes already. So it shows that there are undocumented immigrants paying into this. They're ahead of the game because they will have an advantage when there is immigration reform that has that requirement. So keep that in mind. It's for the long term as well, you know. Um, and I'm going to please hang tight. I'm just going through the questions. I'm moving my way over. So I'm on TikTok, then I'll do YouTube, and then Instagram. It's happening all over that they underpay us, absolutely. And it should not be the case. Employers are getting away with a lot. And you wouldn't believe what my clients go through. Some they cannot make a meaningful living. It's that cruel. Employers exploit them to that extent that they cannot live. They're like slaves. It's happening all over the country. And this is why I am on here educating people about this, because they don't realize that they have rights. They think as an undocumented immigrant, it's like, this is unfair. I want to leave, but I have no choice, right? And you do have a choice. They are supposed to pay, they are supposed to comply with the labor laws. They are supposed to comply with the employment laws. They cannot deprive you of your pay, your fair pay, your overtime. They shouldn't be doing that. Your minimum wage, they are not supposed to deprive you of that. They're supposed to follow the law. I have a green card. Can I petition for my husband who has an expired DACA? So if you petition for your spouse, you're not going to be able to, he's not going to be able to go through adjustment of status. You have to get citizenship first. I'm a natural born citizen, but my mother's a naturalized citizen. Are we in danger? So I've been hearing that part of the plan is to deport naturalized citizens. So that would require, because you are a naturalized citizen, is a citizen, a U.S. citizen. They cannot be deported, right? Unless they go through what a denaturalization process. And the only time someone can, it is rare, but the only time someone can be denaturalized is if they went back into their file and found that they didn't really qualify for their green card, and therefore didn't qualify for citizenship. So that's usually the time where they could denaturalize, but it is rare that that happens. So a naturalized citizen has constitutional rights and cannot just be deported. I remember when I was practicing during the Trump administration, they created a task force where they were going to start uh, digging back into cases of naturalized citizens to see if they really qualified for naturalization. But they would have had to find something like fraud or some form of fraud that would disqualify the person from getting citizenship. So we'll have to see. But for now, I would say you're a naturalized citizen is a citizen. You have rights that you cannot be deported. Um, What if it happens to you by a family member? And if we're talking about the T visa, you qualify. Absolutely. No, this is confidential. It's a confidential process, so you're protected in the process. How long does T visa takes to be approved? It takes 12 months to 18 months, but there is a process to get your relief, get your work permit while you wait for the approval. I'm a Filipina overstaying in US for 6 years and got a child 5 years ago. Can I apply for green card? Not based on your child until your child is 21 years old. How long those so T visa, I already answered that. Are we going to get back our salary when we report them to labor board? It depends on what you want. I always leave that to my clients because my some of my clients, their goal is not to get their pay, but some do want justice. So it just depends on what you want, and then the Department of Labor will honor, what you want. They will, of course, look at the facts ultimately. They make the decision about whether they're going to get your payback if they feel that's feasible. But it's really up to you to tell them, do you want to do that or not? How long does it take for USCIS spouses from I-130 US? So 9 to 12 months. Will Donald Trump's plan affect legal immigrants who came to the US? No, it's not referring to legal immigrants. Um, So it's this the mass deportation is not referring to legal immigration, but here's where it's going to be hard and it's going to be a pain. Say you are renewing your green card, right? He might change the policies to make it hard to get that renewal where it's not automatic. Or if you're going from your 2 year to your 10 year, it became very tedious. Hence our 4 year wait time now for going from the 2 year to the 10 year. So you can see things like that happening, where it's just going to get harder. The requirements are going to be more stringent. And so that's where it may affect legal immigrants. So keep that one in mind. But as for deportation, the mass deportation is not targeting immigrants who already have their papers. If you enroll in college class and you have immigration docket date with asylum, can you get protection? So no, enrolling in class isn't gonna do it. Um, Currently doing my master's in the US as international. What's my best way to get a green card? So master's, the national interest waiver, but it's not just based on studying. You'll have to have your master's and show how you'll use it to achieve certain goals in the US. My father has been here for 35 years. I answered that one. Okay, you're welcome. All right. Is T visa going to be affected? For right now, the T visa is supported by statutory law. So they have to give this, they have to abide by the law to provide the relief under the T visa. If it's going to change, we'll know when. We'll get notification. We'll see the change coming. So I will have to see, but that's why I'm saying get on it now. Go, you can schedule with me and we can talk about it and see if you qualify, because now is the time to seek protection under these laws. Because once you do apply under the current law, even if they change it in the future, they're going to process your case under the current law. So, who qualifies for the T visa? It depends on your facts. So, we need to talk. There are so people going through so many different things, and so that's why we have to know your facts. Do I still need to go to biometrics even if the PIP got denied? I would say that if the PIP got denied, um, if you do not go to the biometrics, they're gonna deny it. But the PIP has been denied. I'm not your attorney, and I can't tell you to go or not go, because I think your attorney needs to talk to you about that from a strategic point of view. I got my green card because of F2A visa. Am I a part of the? No, no. If you have your green card already, if you have your green card, if you have a process that's pending, you are in a much better position, because if you have a process that's pending, in that time that is pending, they keep that in mind. So you're not going to be deportable at that time, because you have an application that's pending. So it will not, having your green card does not make you deportable. Can a T visa holder sponsor a fiance? No, the spouse. The spouse can get it, not the um, is he going to stop people from getting green card through marriage? No. That law is still there. It is a statute. He cannot make that decision. So please know this. There are certain laws he can control, there are certain laws he cannot. Statutory law, he cannot, it's not up to him to say, I'm not going to enforce that law anymore, right? He has to. Sometimes they can create policies around that law, though. That's where we're going to start seeing interviews again, where every single marriage based case is going to have interviews, because right now they're waiving the interview. So we might see interviews coming through. So that is where it's going to get more tedious, but that's not going to stop. And even if this law was to go out, he has to work with Congress to repeal it, and we're going to get notification. Could take months or months to get done. Keep in mind that getting a green card through marriage has been such a um, long-standing path for immigrants, that it would surely face a steep they would surely face a steep hill to get that repealed. Thanks so much for the roses. I appreciate it. All right. All right. So now I'm on YouTube. Thanks so much for waiting, guys. And I am working my way around to your questions on Instagram. T visa application after biometrics, they can deport. So you're in a much better position having this pending. So keep that in mind. How uh, how long it take for U visa to get approval? I applied my U visa last 2019. So it's taking 7 to 10 years, but there's a bona fide determination process that can get you that in a year and a half. So if you have an attorney, make sure you check with the attorney. If you put in your papers and it is in the processing, can you get deported? Having your papers in process means that they're working on your papers, and you're telling the government you qualify for something, so they're not going to deport you um, while your papers are going through, because in the whole point is you're telling them you qualify to stay. So no. um, do you need proof for the T visa? So with every application, we need proof, but the proof depends on the facts. Now, what we do is we take our client statement and we present a declaration that's similar to like a testimony in court. And once the officer looks it over and it's credible, it becomes evidence. So what I say here is definitely um, don't worry about what you have. If you can remember what happened to you, then it's time to call. It's unfortunate that Judge Barker tossed out keeping families together as unlawful. Yes, exactly. It's just um, an injustice. It would have done so much good for many people who need it, about 1 million people who could get protection, who could have gotten protection. What if I work using my ITIN, can that affect my T visa application negatively? No. And working without a permit or taking benefits does not affect the T visa. Do we need a lot of evidence for T visa? Now, I say we work with our clients with with the evidence you have. And the evidence that you have is oftentimes what you remember, the detail you remember. So don't worry about that part. I just want to know, what did you go through? Once you qualify, then we work on putting your case together and getting all the documents and your statement. I believe at this point it's not worth it. They take over 6 months to process any form. Meanwhile, the guidelines in department will change as soon as February. So this is where I say you're wrong. Um, Now, sitting there with nothing pending, you are a sitting duck. If you can't tell the government through an application process that you qualify for a benefit, then you have no defense to deportation. Another thing here to note is that whenever they make changes, they have to go through a notice period. They have to give you notice. They cannot just change something tomorrow. And whoever applies under the old policy is going to apply to them. And so if you have your papers that are processing, then they are not going to just deport you. They have to process your documents. And at the end result, you are applying because you qualify. And that means you're likely to get the relief. And then if you apply under the old policies, they're going to evaluate it under the old policies. Um, Please, is there a way to do follow-up for your case to be expedited? So yes, you can request expedite, but you have to show um, why it needs to be expedited. How long will it take for me to get my green card if my son filed for me? Right now, I would say 10 to 12 months. One thing I did see during the Trump administration was where green cards took longer. So green cards went from 6 months to 9 months to 2 years. So we might see that happening again. So I say apply early so that you can possibly still be processed faster. Good night, everyone. Good night. I have put in for asylum and just finding out that the Bahamas will not work. What should I do to apply for a T visa? Get in touch with us. Let's talk about it. And we have to understand fully what happened, especially with the asylum, and then evaluate your facts to see if you qualify for the T visa. I want to file for VAWA, but I do not have any hardcore evidence. Is there a way? Oh, yeah, give us a call. Keep in mind that if you remember what happened to you, then you can use your statement. They will use your statement as evidence. So give us a call. That's exactly what we did. We do here. If I have a work permit, can I still be deported? No. No, when you have your work permit, it means they're giving you permission to live and stay here. No, if your work permit, if you have a work permit and you were denied and that could be invalidated, but if you have a work permit that's valid and unexpired, that is proof that you have permission to be here. My son just turned 21. Can he file for me now? Yes. If he's a U.S. citizen, he can file. What I would need to do if my application is asylum and what to change to T. So you can't change the T, but give us a call. We want to find out your facts and just understand everything. Make sure you qualify for the T. So that's what I encourage everybody to do. Get in touch. Our schedule is filling up very fast. We have 3 attorneys right now who are working doubly hard along with, so 2 along with me to, evaluate our clients' cases and then get started. We want to get started as soon as possible. So that's what we're doing now. So get in touch with us, schedule your appointment, and let's talk and get started once you qualify. So what other options would be available for people who applied for parole in place? That's where we need to talk because there are multiple options, but we need to talk. What is the downside of filing a case during Trump's time? Can your info be used against you? Let's say VAWA. So during the Trump administration, there is that risk. But keep in mind that you are at a higher risk sitting there doing nothing. You're at a no, you're you're at a much higher risk doing nothing than applying for something you qualify for. Right? You qualify for this, you have a solid case. With us, we evaluate our cases very carefully. And so when we submit these applications, our clients qualify. If you sit there and you don't do that, then you're sitting duck, right? They can find you and deport you anyway. So what and you have to work. People have to work. You have to go out. You're always going to be living in that kind of fear. I remember during the Trump administration, people would just be walking down the street and agents would just come and take them. And their family members would be searching for them because they were detained and the immigrant who was detained had no way to tell their relatives what happened. They would go into workplaces. So if you have to work and they're doing workplace raids, then guess what? And you have nothing to show. So they're going to keep you in detention if you have nothing to show for it. So I say those who are applying you at that point where they're doing sweeps, you have nothing to lose because they're going to, you're either going to have to hide somewhere, somewhere that's no way to live, or you're going to apply for something you qualify for. So, what other options would be available? Good night. So, I answered that. Do you have an office in Massachusetts? So, we're in Boca Raton, Florida. However, we represent clients in all 50 states and the globe. My T visa came case is still pending. I'm running on my 15-month. I would like to know if I'm still on normal processing time. Yes. So right now seeing 18 months, and if we could always check the processing times, because sometimes it runs even longer than the cases, my longest cases. Is it okay to work while waiting for a T visa? Absolutely. They don't hold that against you. So for VAWA, TU visa, asylum, they don't hold working without a permit against you. I want to apply for a visa to visit my family and friends. You'd have to apply for that at the embassy. Um, do you think that naturalization applications also get affected? So the way I would see it is that once again they start putting the applications through more hoops than it should be, and then in addition to that, they're going to also um, they would the application processing times are going to get much longer. So that's the other thing. When I was practicing during the Trump administration, applications went from 6 months to a year and a half. Good night. What if my T visa is being processed by USCIS and I'm stopped by ICE? So, if the T visa being processed alone doesn't necessarily stop ICE from detaining you. However, having the T visa pending, you show that to ICE, then that would show them, based on the current policies, that once you get a bona fide determination, that any pending deportation is supposed to be stayed. So it does offer some protections once you do have the bona fide determination. But having a pending T visa doesn't necessarily stop you from, you're still gonna, if I stops you, ask you questions. There are certain rights that you have, if ICE were to stop you, but it's not going to necessarily stop them from detaining you. But once you're detained, you having that can get you released pretty quickly. If I receive my T visa, what happens to my current H-1B? Can I keep both so that I can travel? So H-1B, keep in mind, the T visa, and this is where the T visa really serves as relief for undocumented immigrants. If you are on H-1B, but you are experiencing trafficking, because yes, that does happen, then um, you are going to apply for the T and take advantage of the benefits of the T. But usually in this case, if you are on H-1B, it means you're working for that one employer that's the trafficker. So you can't get a T visa and then still hold on to the H-1B with the trafficker. That's like trying to have your cake and eat it at the same time. And then furthermore, the whole point of the T visa is you're trying to escape the situation. So how is it you're getting the T visa and you still want to keep your H-1B to stay with I'm assuming the trafficker in this case. That would be contradictory. So even in a situation like this, I think there's a misunderstanding about the T visa. The T visa is there for relief in the case that you need to get out of that situation. It's not there as like, oh, an optional fallback plan B situation. So keep that in mind. The T visa is not necessarily a type of status to take lightly. What will happen to T visa applications that are being filed now in November? What happened to work permit? So that's what I'm trying to tell everybody, is that once you apply for it, the law is no, then they're going to process these applications based on the law. They can't, on day one of Trump's administration, they can't just get up and say, all those applications that were filed for T visa are null and void. They can't do that. The president doesn't have the ability to ignore applications that have been applied under statutory law. The law dictates that these must be processed. It has to move forward. What happened to the work permit? So they have to change that and they have to give us notice. In the meantime, they have to still move forward and process those requests. And then keep in mind that if the government arbitrarily tries to delay the process or tries to do things unfairly, guess what? There are tools to overcome that through lawsuits. So that is also an option. If they are not adhering to the current law, even if they're working to make changes, but they have to adhere to the current law, they're not following that law, then that can result in a lawsuit as well. So keep that in mind. There are options and tools, and these were very successful in controlling the limiting Trump's damage in immigration. The lawsuits were a very big litigation was a very big advantage here in preventing TPS from being terminated, in getting certain applications approved, in getting naturalizations approved, in getting DACA to stay in place. All right. Hello there on Instagram. Let's go and put those questions in the comments. What to do if I'm married and my husband is a drug addict and leave me stranded and he's nowhere to be found? Give us a call. In cases like that, so we just got VAWA approved in a similar situation where the spouse was addicted. And I know when you do have a spouse who is an addict, it comes with not just abandonment, but it usually comes with demands for money, verbal abuse, physical abuse. So this is where you should give us a call, because then VAWA may be an option if your spouse is a citizen or a permanent resident. So yes, the judge ruled against the parole in place, not the spouse visa, but the parole in place. It's a Biden rule. It is not statute. It was something Biden was trying to do for immigrants who cross the border without permission. Spouses of US citizens were supposed to get parole in place that would give them temporary permission to be here and give them the ability to apply for adjustment of status to get their green card. Otherwise, they would not have qualified for the green card. But that has now been denied by the court. So there you go. But you are still left with these solid options that will be there on day one of the Trump administration. What's the longest time frame you have seen with the BFD under the T visa? So right now, they're still processing those. And so far, what I have seen is 3 months. So August, 2 months. So 2 months is the shortest time that I have seen, but they are still pending, and many still have not been issued. So it's just a few. Hi there, John. Nice to see you. I have a work permit, but I filed VAWA, but soon expired. Can I renew? Yes, renew ASAP. And don't wait until it's expired. Apply at least 6 months before the expiration. Can someone get a work visa if they overstay in the US? No. We help our clients get work permits if they qualify for relief, but not the work visa. What about advanced parole? How do you get yourself together when you come in a different name? So there's ways to apply for forgiveness for that. So they could fine for misrepresentation, but that's where it's very important to schedule an appointment and let's talk about it. What do you mean by bona fide process for a U visa? So the U visa takes so long that they've created a bona fide determination process where you can get your, if you properly file your papers, you can get your work permit, and you'll get a bona fide determination letter. Can a 20-year-old file for a parent that is in the country undocumented? They have to be 21. How long does VAWA case usually take in general? Do they look at the length of the marriage? No, they don't look at the length of the marriage. What matters is, did you live together? What did they do to you? Those are the two very important aspects. And was your marriage bona fide? Was it real? If my mom has been in the country and didn't go back home, she had a visitor's visa. She had a case denied that her mother-in-law had filed for, which was for her son and my mom. Is there anything that can be done? So this is where it sounds like she may not have qualified for the process she was going through, but this is where we have to talk. Since that was denied, we can look at alternative options. Does a T visa holder, can they petition fiance? No, you have to be married. The spouse, by the way, with a T visa, your children under 21 and unmarried spouse, parents, if you're under 21 yourself and applying for the T visa, and siblings under 18 can also get the T visa with you. Once you're approved, they get it as well. How to change student visa to green card? There's no direct path from student visa to green card. My wife petitioned for my paperwork was sent off to immigration, so that's good. It means you're officially going through the marriage-based process. I filed for kids, then get divorced. Will my case be affected? I filed for my kids. Not as long as you are a permanent resident, then it shouldn't be. How long after T visa application do you know if your case is eligible? Well, usually the attorney like myself would see if you're eligible, but to get the approval, as a year to a year and a half to get the approval. Does a T visa holder let's see. What if I have a social security? Can I work on it? No, the social security, usually if your status is no longer current, then they are going to see that. If they do an I-9 verification, they're going to see that. But you still can use that number for tax purposes. And as a matter of fact, once you have a social security number, you won't qualify for an I-10. Can a person who is not employed get an I-10 in the US? Yes. You still do have to file a tax return, but you can still get an I-10. And the tax return is you file it, you attach it to the I-10 application, but it doesn't, of course, everything in the tax return. If you made zero income, you would just have to state that. Good evening. I have 2 years green card. Can I travel? I'm afraid you can travel on a green card. Yes. Can you get a pathway to citizenship without I-94? It's possible. Yes. What to do if I'm married, but my husband is a drug addict and leave me stranded? Give us a call. That's exact. We help clients in this situation find ways to get the green card on their own. I have a pending 821. Do I need to do anything else? So having the pending application puts you in definitely a better position than someone who doesn't have anything. But there you'd probably just have to wait for it to be processed. Sad to hear that PIP was denied. Absolutely. I mean, if it was, I guess it's now looking back, it was just too good to be true. One day it's just going to happen for us, and it's going to stick. So We just have to keep going, keep going. And I know those of you who've been here for many years, decades, you've been through it all, you've seen it all. So I'm sure this is not anything new, but I know it still must be a stressful journey. Um, what happens to people who have EAD and waiting on green card via marriage? Nothing. Good night. Can you explain the process for change of status, adjustment of status? Well, if you qualify through family, employment, um, the marriage, then you can apply for your green card. You can get a work permit and travel document while you wait. And the length of time depends on who specifically is petitioning for you. I legally entered the US as a J1, but now overstayed almost 8 years. What should I do? See what options you have available. Because one thing to note is it doesn't matter if you came into the country without permission or you overstayed. Once you don't have your papers anymore, you're at risk. You're not protected under the immigration. You're not protected. You're not given authorization to stay here anymore. So you're at risk. Is it hard to be approved any visas or petition when Trump is in office? So it will get more challenging, but I find once you do qualify for it, sometimes it may take multiple times back and forth on correspondence, but um, if you qualify, you still are in a good position. Will it be harder? Will it take more effort? It may be a little more stressful. Yes. Can someone with non-immigrant visa apply for a T visa? If yes, if you qualify based on certain circumstances. If you're Canadian, can you get a work permit in the US? Through the TN visa, you may be able to, if you're going to seek a position or you've been offered a position within a certain list of professions, then the TN visa can provide you the ability to work here. If I overstay my visa, but I am an F3 petition, so being F3 petition, um, once you overstay, you will not be allowed to get your green card in the US. Legally filed asylum in 2017. I have EAD till 2029 and own 2 businesses. Are we in danger? So it depends on what your asylum looks like. Once again, you have an asylum pending, so they have to adjudicate the asylum before just picking you up and sending you out. You still have to go through a legal process. How to file for my son who's 32 living back home. I'm a citizen. I don't know how to apply for him. So you'd have to file the I-130 first. After obtaining a T visa, can you travel abroad? It does not give you the ability to travel abroad. You'd have to apply for a travel document. Okay, so filing for adult children, how long does the process take? I'd say 5 to 7 years. Can one get deported if their visa hasn't been expired but overstayed? Yes. Yes. So once you overstay, that visa is not valid anymore. All right. I am going to head out. Thanks everybody for your time. I am going to go ahead and just get ready for another busy day tomorrow. So I work to get onto the live tomorrow. So please save your questions for tomorrow. I really enjoy your questions. They're all great questions. So save them for tomorrow. Follow me, like, subscribe. That way you know when I'm coming on, so that you can join me, and then I can answer those questions. All right. Have a good night, and let's just take the time to collect ourselves and plan. I can't help you unless you get in touch with us, schedule some time to go over potential options for you. All right. Have a good night. Thanks so much for spending this time with me. Bye bye.